About 3 minutes.
I'm sure. You too, man. Make sure you can shine now. You all these things there sometimes.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Over the land.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, family. What's the major title today? I see it. Can't find your art.
Hold on, my child. I called you, man. I love you. And to me, how you make it you don't have a run. You're always coming but this time, you lost the line. Sitting around the window with my avatar. Using the same breath as mine. Father, right. I crossed the line. Oh, we got something to say. Only I can focus on the right thing. It's you. It's you. Even in my hardest times, you provide for me. Even the words that I'm saying, it's coming to me as I say it, not playing. You say things not know what you need to say, yeah. You bless me with words. Thank you for all you do for me. Healing me in the midst of Father, wherever you go, I want to and desire, I want to yeah. Take me wherever you go. Lift me up, yeah. In my spirits alone. Take me wherever you go. Lift me up. With love. I owe it all to you. Yeah. I owe it all to you. 'Cause I deserve. I owe it all to you. Oh, that's what you deserve. You deserve me. And I will climb the tallest mountain for you. Oh, and
Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
will you build a beautiful fountain that I can't but I promise you And I'm willingly gonna be a living sacrifice for thee. Wherever you go, I wanna come to yeah.
Oh man. Come. All right. They still grabbing the free things, family, but we gonna jump into it. Let's see. Give me a minute to say a prayer, y'all. All right, on that end, those who looking on, Shabbat Shalom. Pray the Most High be good to y'all this week. Any trials that y'all dealing with, challenges, I pray the Father give y'all wisdom on how to operate with it and through it, to see His purpose of it, because it's the molding. He shaped and fashion us through the trials. He got to prove us to see if we worthy of it. But Romans 8:28. That's the main thing that'll keep me motivated. When I'm dealing with things that don't feel good, that don't look good, that don't sound good. Say all things work together for the good of them that love the Most High God. All right. So you get them, everybody, they grab that little grub or whatnot to get settled. Hit the like button. Also, too, I've been told that some of us not getting a notification, when we go live. So you might need to resubscribe to the channel, so that you'll get the notification. I had a number of people to say that. A number of people saying that they not getting it, the notification when we on. They end up seeing it late, and they want to, be able to interact during the message. You know what I'm saying? So resubscribe or check to see if you've been unsubscribed. YouTube might have did it to you. I don't have any control over that. But come. Let's see. This sheep is up here. Angela. Yep. Again, we just bear with us, giving them a minute to come in. Valid 5464. Shabbat Shalom, family.
We just said she gonna catch you online.
Come, so be it. Robert Bell, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, huh? All righty. Probably another 30 seconds. We're gonna go and jump into it. You got to use some tissue. You sleep.
They could do the height. We're gonna stop. Cover. Shabbat Shalom, fam.
Sister Weezy, there you go. Shabbat Shalom, sir. All right, family. So before we jump into it, everybody go to Ecclesiastes. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. I want everybody to say that together. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. So at the end of everything, at the end of all the studying, at the end of all the charity work, at the end of life itself, at the end of the day, at the end of the talents, the gifts, whether it be music, administration, helps, miracles, prophesying to the wind, prophets and prophetesses, teachers, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, this is what matters. This is what it all boils down to. Chapter 12, verse 13. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13.
I don't know which. I got this on how long? Oh yeah.
I want everybody to read this together. Everybody got it? Everybody got it?
Come.
All right. So Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, y'all ready? All right. Let us hear the
Conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
Come.
One more time.
All right, one more time. Yeah. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Come on.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments,
For this is the whole duty of a man. Come. All praise to the Most High. That felt good. It sounded good. Gotta be smiling. All right, but that's the whole duty of man. At the end of everything, keep his commandments. So we know from that right there, when you get someone to tell us and say, well, listen, you don't have to keep the commandments of the Most High God. The Most High not dealing with you then. Why would he set it in place? You wouldn't know what sin was if it weren't for the commandments. Sin is the transgression of the commandments, according to the book, by definition. All right. But for today's message, though, family, as we approaching the feast day, the Feast of Purim, I want to give some background information on it. We want to read about it, see the inception of it, the origin of it. A lot of people not familiar with Purim. Some people within the nation don't see a reason to celebrate it. You know what I mean? And that's their own prerogative or whatnot. But as much as I can read about the heritage of my ancestors and the things that they did, I want to take part in it. Because we didn't took part in so much of the Gentiles' heritage, celebrating Christmas, Easter, all these things that's unholy, which is idolatry. We celebrate the death of millions and millions of the indigenous people, 4th of July. We were still slaves 100 plus years. The day that they declared independence, Negroes were still in chains, man. But here we are taking part in it, saying that, hey, we want to celebrate it and use that or see it as a day to honor for us too. Like it wasn't nothing good for us. And neither was it good for Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving either. All right. But we want to talk about Purim. Where does it come from? What happened? How did that, we don't read about this in Leviticus 23. Oh, I got you. But it's all good. It's in the book. So let's go to Romans 15 and 4. And what you guys say?
We celebrate Purim and Esther. Esther, Haman was a king, and Haman wanted to destroy.
All right, we're gonna hold it right there. You going into it. You going into it. All right. Romans 15 and 4 though.
All right. I'm going to get
Romans chapter 15, verse 4, saints.
All right. All right, all with me say come. All right, this is the book of Romans chapter 15, beginning with verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
Right, so whatever things was written before us that we can read in this book, it was written for our learning. It's for the edifying of the children of Israel. For us to read that and see the example and say, okay, this is the path to follow. Or this is what they did and this is what the Most High did to them for doing it. Go ahead, son.
All right. That we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
Right there, we through patience may have comfort from the scriptures and have hope. All right, go to 2 Timothy 3. 2 Timothy 3 and 16. So everything written before, so we take part in understanding, reading, and accepting practicing things that's written in the Old Testament. Those things that we can read. There's another message within itself on how we do that. But nonetheless, all of it is valid. How some say, well, the Old Testament don't matter. Now all the book matter. I can't come in on this movie that's been playing for 2 hours. The movie been playing for 2 hours, man. And then I come in at the late mark saying, well, don't nothing matter of why this man choking this dude. I think I done said that before. The moment I walk in, he choking his man. I'm like, he wrong for that. Dude need to take his hands off around that man's neck like that. But you missed the whole portion where this dude done killed his man's wife, raped his daughter in front of him, you know what I mean, and burnt his house down. And this was his friend. He allowed him in his house. You see what I'm saying? So this dude got a reason to be mad. He got a reason to be hot. All right, but go ahead with it. 2 Timothy 3:16.
All right, this is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3, beginning of verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
All scripture.
Hold up. Some of the scripture?
All scripture.
Not just the Old Testament.
All scripture.
Just the New Testament.
All scripture.
Just the hidden lost books.
All scripture.
Okay, all scripture. Old Testament, New Testament, those things that's in between, that edify us. Say all scripture. What?
Is given by inspiration of the Most High.
It's given. So if the Most High said it, you better believe him out. If it came out his mouth, it's something to be attentive to. Go ahead, son.
And is profitable for doctrine,
Mm-hmm.
for reproof,
Mm-hmm.
for correction,
Mm-hmm.
for instruction and righteousness.
For instruction and righteousness. We want to be instructed in the vein of righteousness to please the Most High. You do that by taking heed to this word. Go ahead.
Verse 17, that the man of the Most High may be perfect.
May be what?
May be perfect.
That he may be perfect. It's possible to be perfect. He didn't say flawless. And nobody's flawless, but it's possible to be perfect. The Father can see you perfect, a perfect fit vessel for him to use you for this mission. You can be perfect in his eyes. Go ahead, son.
All right. Truly furnished unto all good works.
To all good works. All right, let's go to Nehemiah chapter 8. All right, the history of Purim. And something that I want us to hone in on, definitely be paying attention to. Sisters indeed, brothers as well, though. Look at the spirit of our foremother. See how she operated. Nehemiah is right before the book of Esther. Tanita Barker, Shabbat Shalom, sir. Nehemiah chapter 8.
You got 8 what?
Start with verse 1.
This is the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8, verse 1.
Give him a minute, give him a minute.
Catch up with y'all. Nehemiah. Man, I always have a hard time finding this book. Okay, right there. Nehemiah 8.
All right, let's go.
And all the people gathered themselves together as one man in the street that was before the water gate. And they spake unto Ezra, the scribe, to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Most High had commanded to Israel.
All right, so all the people gathered together as one man. They were unified. So they gathered together, and they had Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, all right, which the Most High had commanded to Israel, commanded to us, our forefathers. Go ahead, son.
And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both of men and women.
Both of who?
Men and women.
Both of men and women. So this word is for both genders now. And there's only 2. We know the world try to teach us like 200 some genders. Talking about you can be whatever you identify with. No, it's what the Most High made you, man. So he said of men and women, and what else?
And all that could hear with understanding.
So even the younger people who could have understanding of the word. Go ahead, son.
Upon the first day of the 7th month.
Keep going.
And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate, from the morning until the midday, before the men and the women, and those that could understand, and the ears of all the people were attentive unto the book of the law.
All right, and the ears of the people were attentive, paying attention to what's coming out their book. Go ahead, son.
And Esther the scribe stood upon a pulpit of wood, which they had made for the purpose. And beside him stood Mattathiah, and Shema, and Ananiah, and Uriah, and Hilkiah, and Maaseiah on his right hand, and of his left hand, Pedaiah, and Mishael, and Malchiah, and her son, and Hashbedana, and Zechariah, and Meshullam.
All right, we know them names. They be something to wrestle. they all have purpose. It's all right. You know what I mean? Let's go though.
And Ezra opened the book in the sight of all the people, for he was above all the people. And when he opened it, all the people stood up.
All right, so look at how the people reverence the Most High word. See, when he opened the book up, the people stood up like, man, he got that power in his hand. Everybody standing on their feet. Go ahead, son.
And Ezra blessed the Most High, the great power, and all the people answered, Amen, Amen, with lifted up hands, and they bowed their heads and worshiped the Most High with their faces to the ground.
All right, in humility, looking down. All right, go ahead, son.
And Jeshua, and Benai, and Sherebiah, and Jermaine, and Akub, and Sherebithiah, and Hadujah, and Manasseh, and Kelita, and Azariah, and Jozabad, and Hannah, and Pelaiah, and the Levites caused the people to understand the law, and the people stood in their place.
Go ahead with verse 8.
So they read in the book, in the law of the Most High distinctly, and gave this sense.
All right, so they read in the book of the law distinctly and gave the sense. So this is why I'm steady cutting in. You know, he going through the book, he read it, and then I'm going to show you what the book is saying. Because he didn't part understanding to everybody of the word. That's a gift. If you can understand that book, you got to understand what come with it. The Father put that on you to understand it at that level. Go ahead, son.
It caused them to understand the reading.
And caused them to understand the reading. You got to read it with understanding, not with tradition. With tradition tell you the Old Testament don't matter. Only the New Testament. Just believe. No. You got to read this book and understand what the Father said. What was his purpose behind these things? All right, let's go to Esther 9, though. So we'll get basically a summary of the history of Purim, which this particular feast day, you know, Israelites send portions or gifts one to another, and even like what we intending to do, Father willing, on the 25th of February, to go out to the poor, you know, and provide them with necessities as well as food.
You said Esther?
Esther chapter 9. It's right after Nehemiah.
Yeah.
Yep, the book right after Nehemiah. Come.
You said Esther 9?
Esther 9, we're going to hit verse 16. Shabbat Shalom, Dalon Rap.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 9.
Salaki, Gideon. Can y'all hear Gideon reading it? Can y'all hear that good over the line? Somebody give me a con. Can you hear Gideon reading clearly? I'm waiting on that con. All praise to the Most High. All right. I'll go ahead with it again.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 9, starting at verse 16. But the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives and had rest from their enemies. And they slew of their foes 70 and 5,000. But they laid not their hands on the prey. Verse 17. On the 13th day of the month, Adar, And on the 14th day of the same rested day, it made it a day of feasting and gladness.
All right, so this is the origin of the Feast of Purim. What was going on? Continue reading.
But the Jews that were at Shushan assembled together on the 13th day thereof,
Mhm.
and on the 14th thereof, and on the 15th day of the same they rested, and made it a day of feasting and
All
gladness.
right, so on the 13th day, they consecrated the 13th day, the 14th day, and the 15th day of the 12th month. All right, go ahead, son.
Verse 19. Therefore the Jews of the villages that dwell in the unwalled towns made the 14th day of the month Adar,
Mm-hmm.
a day of gladness and feasting, and a good day, and of sending portions one to
All
another.
right, sending portions one to another. Continue.
Verse 20. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far,
Mhm.
to establish this amongst them, that they stood keeping the 14th day of the month Adar and the 15th day of the same year.
All right, so that for generations to come, year to year, that those days will be set apart and consecrated. Understanding that the history behind it, which we're gonna get into it. We just going over this brief summary right here to kind of sum it up without going through the whole 9 chapters or whole 10 chapters rather of Esther. All right, keep going.
As the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies,
Mhm.
and the month which was turned unto them for sorrow to joy,
Mhm.
and from mourning into a good day, that they should make them days of feasting and joy, and of sending portions one to another, and gifts to the poor.
And gives to,
The
all
poor.
right, and gives to the poor. So this is the portion of why we're going out to the streets on the 25th. In vain it is. Keep going, son.
And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, and the Agagite,
All right. Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. Go ahead.
the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast Pur, that is, the lot.
All right. So when you see per, P-U-R, that means lot or portion. And when we dealing in the Hebrew language, when you see I am at the end of a word, depending on what form of Hebrew you're using, whether it's the modern or if it goes into the ancient, I am will make it plural. AM would make it plural. So if I say shalom, ak, all right, we know this peace and blessing to you, brother. But if I say ak yam, I'm saying shalom, brothers. All right, don't end with no S. So when we see per or perim, it's lots or portions. That's what the I am being added to per is. That's when you get perim. All right. So he said that is verse 24, and had cast per, that is the lot. Go ahead.
To consume them and to destroy them.
All right. So they even made it. This is the whole thing behind the Feast of Purim. This man hated us so much that they felt like they wanted the, what you call it,
Annihilate.
annihilate. And it was something. How you spell purge?
P-U-R-G-E.
How you spell it?
P-U-R-G-E.
P-U-R-G-E. So you got them same 3 letters at the beginning of purge as in Purim. And guess what? That's what they decreed. They said, we're going to have a purge on these Israelites, on all the Jews. If you descend from Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you in his kingdom within his 127 provinces, you men, you women, and you children, it's a decree put out that on this day, the 13th day of the 12th month, we're going to slaughter all y'all. Imagine it. Imagine right now what it would sound like today is if you were African American, so-called, Negro, Puerto Rican, Haitian, within those 12 tribes, if you one of these people, by law, anybody who not your people, they got the right to kill you and your children. We ain't gonna even put them in jail. They gonna slaughter you in your house. This what the atmosphere was during this time period. This what happened. This is why we say Year to year, we're gonna remember this thing because they tried to wipe out the whole nation, fam. Still trying to this day. Through different means. We know. Through the water, putting poison, all type of stuff in the water, toxins. We know about the chemtrails, this old information. We know about that. They putting poison in the clothes. They promoting the food, the things that's abominable to have us at odds with the Most High. One of the main tools that Cephas talk about a lot, the music. They putting it in the music, kill, 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 and it's just waxing more and more wicked, more and more evil. Some of the things I'm like, man, these folks saying stuff that I don't even think Satan done backed off. He didn't plant the seed, and now they just going full force with evil. The stuff that they saying in the music. I used to drive to Little Rock every 3 months to take my daughter over there for visiting that particular hospital. So the radio station would change. I'm listening to FM. I'm listening to rap music coming from Memphis. When the radio station changed, it'll change to country music. All they talk about in that music is love. That's all they talking about. We love you. We're gonna drink a beer. We're gonna go do the hillbilly dance, and after that, we're gonna drink a little bit. That's what they was talking about, man. All of that music, and this was being promoted through the people. We forget that because through the music, through sound, that's how I can enter these gates right here. You got gates to your temple, your ears. And they said, we're going to capitalize on that even further. We're going to give you music videos and what they showing in the videos. So now we're going through these gates to pollute your soul and your children after that. All right, keep going, son.
But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letter that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head.
All praises. Keep going.
And that he and his son should be hanged on the gallows.
All right. Yeah, he and his son should be hanged on the gallows. We're going to get the detail of it. Again, we get in the summary. Keep going.
Wherefore they call these people these days. Wherefore they call these days Purim, after the name of Purim.
All right. Wherefore they call these days the 13th day, 14th, and the 15th day of the 12th month. They call those days Purim. Go ahead, son.
Therefore, for all the words of this letter, and of that which they have seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, verse 27, the Jews ordained and took upon them, and upon their seed, and upon all as such as joined themselves unto them, so it should not fail that they would keep these 2 days according to the writing, and according to their appointed time every year.
Every year. 28.
Verse 28. And that these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, in every province, in every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews, nor the memorial of them perish from their seed.
So this information was to be passed down to the generations to come. The same way we groom our children for Satan. That's how we was doing it. We was grooming our children for Satan. We talking about Christmas. It's for the children. Thanksgiving, we're gonna celebrate it. It's just for it feel good. But again, like I said, you got people saying, "Well, I only do it because family come together." Ain't nobody arguing. But soon as the Christmas dinner over, you saying, "Well, you saying that ugly sweater Unc had on, man?" Auntie had some. That what they call it, potato salad was so nasty. Or they get the argument, they going back to, he still ain't forgave me. He still owed me $20. So it was a false love the whole time, man. That's the thing that I'm getting into. All right. But now let's go to Esther 1. So let's get into the characters or the main people that was active during this time. All right, through that Esther 9, what we just read, we read about Esther herself. We read about Mordecai. Who was this? We read about Haman. Who was that? Who was Ahasuerus? Who were these people? All right, so we need to understand it. So Esther 1, start with verse 1. You got it?
Right here at the beginning of Esther.
Come.
All right. Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, that is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 120 prophets, that in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all the prophets and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, and the nobles of the princes of the prophets began before him.
All right, so he said this man, his authority reached from India to Ethiopia over 127 provinces. Man, that's massive. That's a whole lot of people to be covering or to be ruling over. 127 provinces. It just on a minute level, we just say 127 states. Babylon got 50. So 127, you ruling over these folks. All right. Shushan, that word spawns from Shoshana or Shushana, which goes into or meaning lily. Now go ahead though. This just a little FYI for us.
When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty, many days, even 180 days. Verse 5. And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace. Verse 6. Where was white, green, and blue hangings, fashioned with cords of fine linen, and purple to silver rings, and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red, and blue and white, and black and marble.
So he got it decked out. It's a glorious event. You know what I mean? This is the same mindset we supposed to have approaching the holy days, because the Father's glory through decoration too. It set the tone. It feel good. Go ahead, son.
Verse 7. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and raw wine in abundance, according to the state of the king.
All right.
And the drinking was according to the law. None did compel, for so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure.
All right, so there's no pressure on, hey, drink some more, young. Here, have some. No, you drink in moderation. Drink what you can handle. Verse 9, go ahead.
And also Vashti, the queen, made a feast for the women in the royal house, which belonged to King Ahasuerus.
All right, so the king's wife, Vashti, the queen, says she made a feast for the women. So the women on the other side, they got some stuff going. Now that was noble, that was righteous, that was good. Sisters need to operate like that with one another. That's a point to build. I will keep going. What is after that?
Verse 10. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was married with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abatha, Zaptar, and Carcass, and 7 chamberlains, that they serve in the presence of Ahasuerus, the king. Verse 11. To bring Vashti, the queen, before the king, which the crown royal, to show the people in the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on. All
right, so the king, he done got Yom and his sister. He got their wine. He feeling good. He like, man, my wife's so fine. She's so fine. Man. Hey, bring her. Hey, let me show y'all my wife, man. You know what I'm saying? So they go together. Queen Vashti, bring her in. He said, with the crown royal, with the crown and everything. All right, said she was fair to look on. What verse 12 say though?
But the queen Vashti refused to come.
Hold on, read that part slow.
Okay.
What did it say?
Verse 12. But the queen Vashti refused to come.
The queen Vashti refused. Now, this is a point to drive for the sisters, but it's also something to pay attention to for the brothers. If we talking about we in the truth, I said the queen Vashti refused. All right, go ahead.
To come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burned in him. Verse 13. Then the king said to the wise men, which knew the times, For so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment.
All right, so he wanted to get their opinion, his counseling, what to do about it. Jump down to verse 17.
This is verse 17. For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported.
All right, so what happened? Her being in a position of authority, saying the other women did see her, that she didn't refuse the king, which that really was punishable for death right there. So when other women see that, man, they gonna take that same spirit for them to be rebellious. Go ahead.
The king Esther commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Verse 18. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and of Media say this day until all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen, thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath.
All right, so from that point, they seeing that this woman operated in rebellion. They said, well, we're going to start rebelling against our husbands too. We're going to refuse what they say. We're going to buck against the order of the Most High. We're going to buck against the authority. But it came with a price though. So for that same reason, I'm gonna tie in some background information for us. He said, well, look, I ain't going to kill her. But what I am going to do, we're going to have us what I can think of equated closely to a beauty pageant. Get all the pretty women in the land, and I'm going to make a choice out of one of them to see who's going to be the new queen. Esther 2. Let's see where we want to go with. Let's see. Yeah, no, you can start with one.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 2, verse 1.
Come on.
After these things, when the wrath of the king Ahasuerus was appeased, he remembered Vashti and what she had done, and what was decreed against her. Then said the king's servant that ministered unto him, let there be fair young virgins sought for the king. Verse 3. And let the king appoint officers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan, the palace, to the house of the women, unto the custody of Heg, the king's chamberlain, keeper of the women, and let their things be purification. Let their things for purification be given them. Verse 4. And let the maiden which pleaseth the king be queen instead of Vashti. And the thing that pleased the king, and he did so. All
right, so they put that out. They said, well, let's do this then. Again, let's send out this order through the land, bring out the pretty women, and you'll make you a new selection for a new queen to replace the one that's rebellious. The king heard it, like, yeah, okay, this sounds good. Verse 5. So now we understand Ahasuerus is the king. We understand that they in Persia. So within the timeline of what we read in Daniel, this particular point of captivity and servitude, this is before what? Before which servitude?
This is before the Greek captivity.
Before the Greek captivity. All right, go ahead, son.
And now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Jew who was named Mordecai, the son of Jar, the son of Shammai, the son of Kish, a Benjamite.
A Benjamite, who is there today?
Jamaicans.
All right, so we got Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite. Now we figuring out who is this Mordecai. Go ahead, son.
Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away from Jeconiah, king of Judah, with Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon had carried away. And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther.
Right, so that's her Hebrew name. He brought up Hadassah, that is Esther. Go ahead.
Her uncle's daughter, for she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and her mother were dead, took for his own daughter. All
right, so Mordecai took in his cousin Hadassah as his own daughter, raised her up. All right, go ahead.
Verse 8. So it came to pass, when the king's commandment and his decree was heard, and when his maidens were gathered together unto Shushan, the palace, to the custody of Haggai, that Esther was brought also unto the king's house, to the custody of Haggai, keeper of the women.
All right, so it's the same person during this time, because they were going to be set before the king, or they couldn't see the king for a whole year. In that time period, he getting them groomed up to be the queen. We're going to see which one of y'all is most fit. Jump down to verse 16. Imagine how many women it was.
Verse 16. So Esther was taken unto King Ashur into his house, royal in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebet.
Shalak, go back to 15. I want that.
Verse 15.
Mm-hmm.
Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai,
Mm-hmm.
who had taken her for his daughter, was come to go in unto the king, she required nothing but what Haggai, the king's chamberlain, the keeper of the women, appointed.
Mm.
And Esther obtained favor in the sight of all of them that looked upon
All
her.
right, so Esther obtained a favor, that favor given from the Father, because it's according to his plan. Say she obtained that favor. She was more pretty than all the women. This Israelite woman. But I do want to point out something here. It says, who had taken her for his daughter. Now, we got some people who they see taken, and what they say they mean. They tell me they mean that, okay, he laid with this woman, so on and so forth. We see what a man did. Taken don't mean it in all cases, man. I just said she found favor in the sight of them. Verse 16.
And so Esther was taken unto King Ashur into his house, royal in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebet, in the 7th year of his reign.
17.
Verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
And the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight, more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her queen instead of Vashti.
All right, so now we got it certified. Verse 17 letting us know Mordecai is the cousin to Esther. He raised up, all right, Esther or Hadassah. She ended up being crowned the queen in the place of Steed of Vashti, who refused to do what the king said. So now we got an Israelite woman who's the queen of the kingdom over these 127 provinces through her husband's power. All right, so shortly after that, this is a brief part to add in. We ain't gonna read the whole book. After that, Mordecai was a man, you could say he was a man of arms. You could say he was even security. But you had two of the men who were close to the king plotting to kill the king. Mordecai heard it. He went and told, he said, hey, look, you need to let the king know, man, these folks trying to get rid of him. So she ended up conveying that message to the king. They came, made inquisition, found out it was true, took those men home, and he wrote Mordecai down in the book of the Chronicles saying, I got to do something for this man. So there's going to be, remember, he got to be honored. We're going to keep that in the storehouse. All right, now let's go to find out who is this Haman, though. Esther 3, verse 1.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 3, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
After these things did King Ashur promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 2. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced him, Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did he reverence.
All right, so hold it. So this man, this Haman dude, you know what I mean? He had status within the kingdom too. The king even advanced him, set him above our prince. He had authority. He got the big head thinking that when he come in, people got to bow to him like the king. All right, but he said this Israelite, Mordecai, from the tribe of Benjamin, bro, like, I'm not finna bow to you. Only person we bow to is the Most High. That's it. No, nobody else. Now, but Ma, you got your Zonda?
Yeah.
All right, so give me the definition of Agag. Because it's giving us the lineage of this same Haman. Who is this? What if Mordecai is an Israelite, let me see, is this Haman dude? Is he an Israelite? Or who is he? What is he? What's his
He
blood?
sound like an Arab.
Sound like an Arab, huh?
Mm-hmm. Sound like Ishmael.
We're gonna see what it tells us though. Agag. Is he a Hamite? We finna find out. We about to find out. All right, so the Zondervan Bible Dictionary family. One of the records we use in study,
How you spell it?
AGAG.
Okay. A-G-H.
To give us more information on our history. Now, we use this, but I ain't got a cover to mine. It's pretty old. But we use this as a valid source because though it's not written by our people, it's letting you know that they know the truth that we are the people. When you look up the definition of Ham, and it tell you the progenitor of the dark races, the Egyptians, the Ethiopians, who was there? The Libyans and the Cushites is one more. But then it get down and says not the Negroes within that same definition, letting you know you got dark skinned or melanated people, but we're not the same. The same way Chinese and Japanese, they Asians or Asiatic, but they not the same people. This same book let you know the Negroes is something different. We come from the land of Shem. All right, Shabbat Shalom Anaya. Y'all need to see. Zamir, man, I just got through blasting plenty of your music. Come. But you got that same?
Yeah, I got it.
Read that loud for the nation can hear it.
Okay. It say Agag, perhaps meaning violent.
Oh, look, perhaps meaning violent. Now, who is the most violent people on the face of the earth?
Arab.
Esau.
Arab?
He's against Arab. Esau. He's an Edomite.
Okay, we gonna find out. Keep going, son.
Hey, okay.
Is the Ishmael gonna be against every man?
Yeah.
Okay. And then it say point 1. An important king of Amalek.
An important king of who?
Amalek.
Of Amalek.
And references Numbers 24:7.
Okay.
Of whom Balaam prophesied that a king of Jacob, Israel, would surpass him.
All right. So, but is that an important king of Amalek?
Mm.
All right. And who is Amalek?
Fake Jew in that land right now.
But who he come from?
He come from Esau.
He come from Esau.
Going,
Let me see if I want some more on this. Keep going in.
It say, point 2, the king of the Amalekites,
Amalekites,
yeah, whom Saul captured alive through the Most High, had the prophet Samuel ordered him to destroy them entirely. And Samuel, as a judge, pronounced sentence of death upon him for all his cruel deeds. And Samuel hewed Agag in pieces before the Most High.
All right. So it's time back into Amalek, and Amalek goes back to Esau, Edom, or today's Europeans. All right. So there's who Haman is. And he goes off the rip and say violent. Man, look, man, that's another message. That's another message in itself.
Oh, and then it's got in here listed as a Agagite. Is an enemy of the Jews.
Enemy of the Jews. Come on. So let's go back to the book, Esther 3, where we leave off at.
So I'll start right there at 3, start taking from it out.
Okay.
Then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said to Mordecai, why transgressest thou the king's commandment?
Why you won't bow down to Haman, man? Go ahead.
Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told him to see whether Mordecai's matter would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew. Verse 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did he reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone.
No, he wanted to put them hands on Mordecai. This how mad he want to fight the man. You in battle me? I'm ready to scrap. Go ahead.
For they had showed him the people of Mordecai, wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews.
No, to destroy who?
All the Jews.
So look at the wickedness, family. Because one Israelite didn't bow to this man, he said, I want to kill all of them then. You stand as a symbol, and listen, this the same mindset Satan got. The spirit Satan. For why they say we got to kill all of them. It don't matter if you are an Israelite around here sagging your pants, drunk, smoking weed, and fighting every day. They said one day the Most High could pour his spirit out on you. So we want to kill you too. Because you might repent and change your way, and then now you starting to wake up other brothers and sisters. They said, no, we can't take that chance, man. We trying to get rid of all y'all. The same mindset that the adversary got. Keep going, son. I see.
They thought scorn laid hands on Mordecai alone, for they had shown him the people of Mordecai, where Haman sought to destroy all the Jews. There were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai.
Even the people of Mordecai, throughout the whole kingdom. He didn't say just in those quarters. How wicked is the man? I got to be saying, look, I want to kill the ones that's in Chicago. I need to kill the ones that's over there, and even the ones that's the fruit sprinkles in Utah. I need to kill them too. Because this one didn't bow. And he ain't even the king, man. He not even the king. All right, what it say in the next verse, though?
In the first month, that is, the month of Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast Pur, that is, the lot before Haman, for day from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. For a whole year straight, these folks, they steady trying to see, man, what we gonna do about it? We gonna kill them or not? Keep going. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people, and all the provinces of the king of thy king, of their kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people. Their laws are diverse, different from all people. Neither keep them the king's law. Therefore, it is not from the king's profit to suffer them. All right, so even in today's time, where Israelites saying, listen, we ain't taking vaccines. Listen, we ain't finna work on no Shabbat. You know what I mean? Y'all want to work, we ain't finna do that. Say our laws are contrary to the laws of the land. If they go against the Most High, then we against it. As long as your laws line up with what the Father say, we good. It won't be no conflict. But in the case where they talking about, okay, well, let's make the sodomite activity legal, and we supposed to agree with it. We supposed to agree with this stuff. Just like your boy get in, pedophile Joe. One of the first things he do is nominate a transgender. This is not the first official who been put in a position of power within politics. This is a transgender. You got Danica Rome. Listen, Danica Rome, a transgender male, this man, cross-dressing, this man beat in the running for his city somebody who was established for a couple of decades, man. The person that was in that position at first, dude got all type of connections through the city. But he got triumphed about a transgender. So what kind of kingdom are we living in when they got more rights than we got? When you got them feeding them and helping them out in more ways than they helping us. All right, go ahead with it. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed, and I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hand of those that have the charge of this business, to bring it into the king's treasury. All right, so we see here, Haman, go to the king. Listen, kill all the Jews. Anybody who put their hand to the sword to kill the Jews, I'm going to give them 10,000 talents of silver. We're going to pay you to kill these Negroes. You think the folks weren't ready for that? 10,000? Pay the police. Make it today's time. Come on. All right, but these folks finna get paid to murder us and our women and our children.
Jump down to chapter 4 to see what happened after it. Now we got it established. Ahasuerus was the king. The queen Vashti got replaced with Esther or Hadassah. Hadassah was raised by Mordecai. Mordecai then bowed to Haman. For that case, he wanted to kill all of our people. All right, now we bring it up to this point where she's in the king's house now. Chapter 4, hit verse 1 for the context.
This is the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 1. When Mordecai received all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out into the midst of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry. And came ever before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth.
All right, so now Mordecai is aware of what's going on. Jump down to verse 10. All right, because at this point, after he did that, back and forth, he conveyed messages to Esther through her servant or handmaid, you know what I mean, or her servant or whatnot. Like, look, this was going on in the kingdom. You know what I mean? You need to be aware of this stuff too. Read that for me, Cephas. I'm gonna get Cephas to read this one.
Okay,
we want.
verse 2.
Esther 4, starting with 10.
All right, this is the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
Again, Esther spake unto Hatak, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 11. And the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman,
Mm-hmm.
shall come into the king and to the inner court, who is not called, there is one law
Mm-hmm.
of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come into the king these 30 days.
All right, so listen to Esther's resolve and her understanding. For these 30 days, she can't even approach the king, and she letting her uncle know, well, her cousin know, letting her know, like, look, if I just walk, I can't just go in there and walk up on the king. I got to be granted permission. And then even when I'm granted permission to go see him, he got to extend the golden scepter to even tell me to come on and holler at me what you need to talk to me about. This the queen, though. You would think that because she was the queen, she should be able to just go in there, right? No, it's about the order that was set. All right, so he says she possibly can be killed in this if she do what Mordecai said. Verse 12, what did he say?
Verse 12. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words.
Mm-hmm.
Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews.
So look, listen, don't think because you the queen, you're gonna be excluded from this decree. When if they go ahead to kill all the Jews, you the queen, but you a Jew too, they're gonna kill you too. Mm-hmm. Don't think you immune from this. But again, for my sisters, the resolve that she have, some of the sisters get caught up in the position that y'all have. Not saying y'all hurt, it's a general statement. Women get caught up and say, listen, look at me. Look at how brutalized you think you will be excluded from destruction because of it. No, you won't. All right, go ahead with the next verse, Saint.
In verse 14, if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time,
you be quiet about this matter. Go ahead.
Then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place.
All right, so even if you don't do it, the Most High gonna raise up somebody else to deliver us. You might as well go ahead and make history. He could use you right now, sister. But if you deny doing the work of the Father, he gonna wipe you out and let somebody else. So the Father take the spirit off any of us and put it on somebody else. Use who you want to. We need to be willing. Go ahead with it.
All right, continue with verse 14. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?
Now, you got to stop right there. He said, who knows? This might be the very reason why the Most High allowed you to become queen, to save the nation. through you being in that position of authority, he's lifted you up and put you in that position so that you can benefit us. But if you don't, you're going to be destroyed. But we got some of the women, who get into positions of authority and power. She not one of us, Kamala Harris, but people applying it. She not an Israelite. But some people saying, okay, well, look, we got a black vice president. She the first black woman, and first Asian woman to be a vice president. That's what they say. So, but this the same way. You checking the record, she ain't been a benefit for Israelites like that. But if she was a full Israelite, it would be you've been put into that position to serve a purpose for the Father, not your own. He granted you that so that you would do his will. And if you couldn't do it from the being a coach at school, you couldn't do it there. So he allowed you to be in that field to be the governor or whatever. All right? Go ahead, King.
I'll continue with verse 15. Then Esther bade them return Mordecai this answer.
Mm-hmm.
Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast you for me,
Mm-hmm.
and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day.
Mm-hmm.
I also and my maidens will fast likewise.
Mm-hmm.
And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish.
Man. So you got women who want to have their glory, but look at Esther's resolve though. She said, man, my life, if I go in here, man, I could be killed, but if he kill me, so be it. I'm gonna move forward because the nation needs to be salvaged. You right, Cuzzo. You right, Mordecai. He might have put me in this position. And it's not lawful for me to walk in on him like that, but I'm gonna do it. We finna fast first though. We gonna go for the Father. We ain't finna eat or drink nothing for 3 days. Tell everybody, tell the whole nation, everybody fast. Don't nobody drink nothing, don't nobody eat nothing. Because when we fast and what we displaying to the Most High, they look, Father, I ain't got I'm dead anyway. When you read in the book and say they cast ashes on their head, they talking about putting dirt on their head. Today's time, when a person passes away, what you do with the body? What you put it on?
Right on the dirt.
Under who?
Dirt.
You put it under dirt. So they put it on their head like, look, this is a symbol of, look, man, I'm dead. I need you to move on my behalf, on our behalf. This the resolve that Esther had. All right? See, if I perish, I perish. That's what she told him. All right, so after this, the king ended up telling her she do go into the king. The king ended up, because of the fact the Most High break down certain stuff in the spirit realm. When you do that, there's the power that fasting, opening doors that was closed that weren't even there. Closing doors that was open that needed to be shut. You know what I'm saying? That's what the fasting to do. In their case, the king like, yeah, come on, baby, what's going on? Say, look, I'm gonna give you anything you want up to half of the kingdom. Just ask me. So her resolve was, let me have a banquet with you and somebody else. He like, okay, cool, let's do that. All right, so they set up the banquet, say, who you want to come though? Say, Haman. At this point in time, Haman, he then went home, told his children and his wife, look, man, the king done promoted me. Listen, I done got promoted again, the second time. But this Mordecai, when you read it, it tripped me out. This man that got double blessed by the king, and he can't even focus on that. He still had to bring up the fact that Mordecai wouldn't bow to him. Said, hey, man, let me go make some gallows to hang these folks on, man. I'm going to hang him and his children. He made it in his own house now. This background information before we get to this point. All right. The king honored Esther's request. They make the banquet. Haman come out. He thinking it is a VIP dining dinner. And then she break it out on him like, look, the king like, what's up? What you want to talk to us about? Go to Esther 7. Let's go here. Esther chapter 7. Start with verse 1.
All right. This is the book of Esther, chapter 7, beginning with verse 1. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen. And the king said again unto Esther on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is their petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Verse 3. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. Verse 4. And for we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we have been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I have held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage.
All right, so Esther tell them, look, me and my people been sold to be killed, you know what I mean, to perish. I would have been all right with just, you know, if they had said we put into subjection of bondage. I would have been fine with that, but they said that they want to kill us, man. Did what she told me. Go ahead, verse 5.
Verse 5. Then the king, Ahasuerus, answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he and where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so?
All right, who is this that somebody that want to kill my wife, man, and her people? Who is this? Now, Haman, he at the dinner with him, though. He right there. He hearing her say all this. You better know, dude, I was sweating. John, like, man, keep going with it.
Verse 6. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
All right, so she answered, man, is him right here. Imagine how you feel, man. We ain't read the whole story. You know what I'm saying? But this man planning to do all this. You get invited to the banquet, the dinner. You thinking it's a VIP dinner, man. I'm with the king and the queen. It's just us. You know what I'm saying? I'm special. You special, all right? All right, so she get to breaking it down and say, like, this is the man. This is what I'm talking about right here. He gets scared. Verse 7, what it say?
Verse 7. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine and his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen. For he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king.
King hot, go ahead.
Verse 8. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine. And Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was.
So he didn't walk. He's so hot, he don't even know what to say right now. He didn't walk out. But he come back and he see the same dude laying in the bed by his wife. He like, keep going. What it say?
Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house?
Oh man, so you not only you trying to kill now you finna try to rape her? Keep going.
As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face.
So his hitters, as soon as they understood how mad he was, they covered his head. And man, we finna deal with him. We finna take her. Don't even worry about it, king. We got him. Go ahead with it.
And Harbana, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold, also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai.
Which he did what?
Had made for Mordecai.
The same gallows he made for Mordecai. Go ahead.
Who had spoken good. Should lock my phone. All right. Who had spoken good for the king.
Who saved the king's life. Remember that account. Go ahead.
Standing in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang them thereon. Should like hang him thereon.
Verse 10.
So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified.
All right, so the same gallows he had in his house to hang Mordecai on, by the king's decree, he was hung on. All right, the Most High done shifted the whole thing, but we know that before this, what preceded? the fasting,
Mhm.
the humility. Esther could have answered and said, man, listen, I'm the queen, man. You whatever. The Most High done elevated me to a level. You still outside the gate, cuz I don't need to listen to nothing else you said. She could have took that mindset, but she had a heart for her people, man. You know what I mean? And an ear to listen when the word was coming out from the man who had instructed her in the law in the first place. Let's see. So we know from that point, it was said that the king had allowed Mordecai to write letters in his name with his seal throughout those same 127 prophecies. Matter of fact, let's go to Esther 9. We'll do it like this. I don't want to talk too much on it. What we were just at 7?
Mhm.
I need to get one thing that Esther said. This again for her resolve, just for the sisters to understand and instill it or encourage it within y'all. Go to Esther 8, verse 4. So this is after they hung Haman or Haman. 8 and 4.
All right. This is the book of Esther, chapter 8, beginning with verse 4. Then the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king and said, if it please the king, and if I have found favor in his sight, and the thing seem right before the king,
Mhm.
and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised
Mhm.
by Haman, the son of
Hamadatha.
Hamadatha, the Agagites,
Esau.
Mhm.
which he wrote to destroy the Jews which are in all the king's
All
provinces.
right, so this the man of Esther. Not only did she stop and say, okay, well, there was a man. So now she say, okay, well, let's reverse the whole thing. Can sisters today even think like that? Do sisters today have the love for the nation like that? To say that they tried to kill us, reverse that thing. All right, go ahead with the next verse.
Verse 6. For how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people?
That shall come unto my people. Go ahead.
Or how can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred?
There's so many that wouldn't care. They say, I'm straight. That's all that matters. I ain't got to worry about y'all. Y'all do y'all own thing. All right. So from this point, though, just going to tell it to you, we'll read it. Prayer for the Father will some other time, and you can read it in your own time. But again, from this point, the blessing came because the king forgot about giving Mordecai his reward for saving his life. He said, all right, I'm gonna elevate you, and through this same case, I'm gonna allow you to write the letters to the kingdom and telling them what y'all want, but it's gonna be as if I'm saying. So Mordecai wrote the letters along with Esther. They working together about it, and it was a day decreed that we will be able to stand against all our enemies. Let's see. Yep, Esther 9. Go with 1. I think this will be the last portion of the story that we'll go over. Yep, go to Esther 9 and 1.
Right. This is the book of Esther, chapter 9, beginning with verse 1. Now in the 12th month, there is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king's commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, and the day that the enemies of the Jews hope to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had ruled over them that hated them.
All right, the Most High turned the thing around. Go ahead.
Verse 2. The Jews gathered themselves together in their cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus to lay hand on such as salt the hurt.
To lay hands on who?
As salt the hurt.
To lay hands on such as salt their hurt. So we weren't going out to end everybody. But we see through the decree so many people, y'all ready to kill it. Remember, it was a whole year, brother. It was a whole year, sister. So we probably hearing for, yeah, I can't wait till the 13th day of the 12th month, you dead. Same way they do it in the Purge movie.
Right.
You know, the dude, he mad at his tenant, or what would you call it? I can't even think of the dog name of it.
Landlord.
The landlord. Wait till the purge horn go off. I got you. You know, that's what they saying. So just like this, we going a whole year hearing these folks talking about what they gonna do to us. But the Most High flip it around. So like, okay, we're gonna make it to where on that day, y'all gonna have a chance to stand for y'all self. Y'all ain't gotta lay down. Y'all gonna get a chance to fight for your own lives. That's what the Most High granted to us. All right, through Esther, through Mordecai. All right, so we gathered on that day. Throughout the province of the king, all this sought to hurt us. This is what we came for. Go ahead, finish it out.
All right. And no man could withstand them, for the fear of them fell upon all people. Verse 3. And all the rules of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and officers of the king helped the Jews.
They helped the Jews.
Because the fear of Mordecai fell upon them.
Right, because the fear of cousin Mordecai. They said, man, we're going to help them. The deputies and lieutenants, they helped us to go against those who hated us and saw our hurt. Jump to, well, you can read through. Go ahead. Something else that stood out.
Well, start out at 4. Okay. All right. Verse 4. For Mordecai was great in the king's house, and his fame went out throughout all the provinces. For this man Mordecai waxed greater and greater. Thus the Jews smite all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, and slaughter and destruction, and did what they would unto those that hated them. Verse 6. And in Shushan, the palace, the Jews slew and destroyed 500 men. And Parsandra, the Dalphon, and Espatha, and Paratha, and Adalia, and Aridatha, verse 9, and Palmasta, and Arisa, and Arida, and Vajazatha, verse 10.
All right, so all those 10 names we just read there, go ahead.
The 10 sons of Haman, the sons of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, slew they, but on the spoil laid they not their hand.
All right, so even the sons of Haman was slain. All right, but it said the spoil that was left behind from that, so they didn't even touch, they didn't want it. It was tainted anyway. All right, so we got that portion. Let's see, there's more we want to hear. Now, this is about it. That's all we wanted on it. So we see how the Most High turned that thing around. All right, but this is the history behind why we celebrate Purim. After that, after we was able to, take care of our enemies, all them that hated us, overpowered them, then we said we're going to celebrate this thing because we could have been exterminated altogether. All right, and from that we said we're going to send portions one to another and go out and give gifts to the poor. All right, so this is what the origin and the history of Purim is. Questions, comments, and concerns, which I do suggest that, you read the whole book through and through, the book of Esther, and then finish it up, with the rest of Esther from the Apocrypha, because you'll end up finding out that it was a vision given. It was a vision given to one of the servants of the Most High, to let them know that this thing was going to take place anyway. You know what I'm saying? They weren't going to be able to avoid it. All right. Shabbat Shalom, our cause. Brother Stacy Anderson, humble servant. Shabbat Shalom, all y'all. Wow. Man, the radio excited. All right, but y'all got any questions? You got a question?
Yes, sir. I may have missed this, but what was the king? Was he Judah or
He was a Persian.
Persian?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's been lawful for a Persian to marry.
Israelite?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. No, it wasn't.
But we was in slavery, we was in bondage.
Mm-hmm.
So you couldn't refuse.
Yeah, I know that's Persian from what she did with him. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out, well, if he owned her, I guess in the Persian she was a slave. It was, I guess, it was lawful for her. She would head to marry her, right?
If he gonna make her the queen, of course that would be married. But she wouldn't be a slave. You wouldn't be giving a slave power over up to half of the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? In that case, you had people who, as the book would talk about, there was more of what would align with a concubine. The concubine didn't have power. They didn't have say-so. You know what I'm saying? But in this case, this is the queen. So she's all only difference in her. Like I said, you got half of the kingdom. I got all the kingdom. So, but no, it wasn't lawful. You know what I mean? But like you said, it was for this purpose. She found favor in the sight. He raised over. If she hadn't been there, let's say Vashti was still there. You know what I'm saying? Another Gentile. And that decree went forth. Who would be in place to help us?
Nobody.
Who would have had enough, you know what I mean, footing with the king to help us?
So was all the Israelites free? You know, I guess was out of slavery once.
It's a good question, brother.
You know, was Esther took the queen role.
Come. Now they weren't free, but in the case where we talking captivity, when we talk slavery, chattel slavery, being in chains, so on and so forth. You know, there's one form. But even today we in slavery too, because we can't maneuver like we used to. No, we got to go to other people. And if I want this land, well, I want to do such, I got to go to somebody else about it. I can't do what I want. Whereas in the kingdom of foretime, it was us, whatever we decided to do, which is, you see the difference in the power of a king and a president. The king don't got to ask nobody nothing. You know what I mean? But the president, he got to go in with the executive branch, judicial branch, and then they come up with a decision. Within the kingdom, we did what we wanted to do. So in this case, we were just under the authority of the Persians. We couldn't move like we wanted to. So this is what she told me. If they had sold us to be bondmen and if they had made us slaves, I would even accepted that. That what else to tell them. But they don't want to just put us in bondage. They want to kill us off. They want to take it to a level beyond just, you know, having us in chattel slavery, in chains. So we weren't free, but we have a sense of freedom. I'm not trying to lose nobody.
Just like right here.
Yeah, we got a sense of freedom, but we under the authority of the powers that be that's running everything here. Like we talked about earlier. In this kingdom, we see the difference. Rather we say, you know, the storming of the Capitol was an inside job or not. One thing that's for sure, nobody was in there. It wasn't a bunch of dead bodies laid out. I'm not even sure that enough people got, you know, maced. It wasn't a lot of. They didn't even break out the batons. But this is at the capital of the country. This ain't even a regular courthouse. Let that go down. Let that happen downtown at the courthouse. Man, them folk gonna have all type of sheriff, the state trooper will be down there. But this happening at the country's capital, and none of it took place. But if it was our people, bloodshed, dogs out there. If we go back in the history, and then the YouTube didn't even just shut out by itself, I did something. If we go back in history, Brother Marco, when the people were marching for peace, we weren't out there being violent. We got posters and telling these folks, man, I am a man. I want rights like the other man got. Ain't no violence in this. They broke out the water hoses. They sent in the K9s. They maced us and hit us with batons.
Bombing the churches.
Bombing the church. You know what I'm saying?
They beat my cousin so bad they put a steel plate on one side of her head.
Women and children. Okay, we still going. All praise to the Most High. I don't know what that was. No, we dropped out. It's like these folks, hey, But indeed though, brother. So preferably that answer the question. You know, if there's anything kind of gray about it, man, we can talk about it as long as you want to, as much as we need to. You know what I mean? What you got?
Is there a kind of way possible that maybe King Ahasuerus didn't know she was a Jew?
Well, in the case where she told him.
Yeah, she told him then, but I'm talking before she
Before.
prepped and all that kind of stuff.
That's a good question too. You read that in the book. Mordecai told her not to tell them who she was. Yep. He told her not to tell him that. Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Even over the YouTube. Y'all got any other questions?
So you good?
Contact me still
So
PR
you
indeed.
good?
So if you learned anything, if it was any kind of edification for you, please hit the like button, subscribe. Like I was telling earlier, if you came in late, there was a number of people saying that they hadn't been getting the notifications when we go live. So you might have to resubscribe. You know what I mean? I don't know if YouTube took you off or whatever.
Yeah, I'm hearing that about me too. Now just get out there that thing, send the notifications out.
Yeah.
You familiar with mailingless?
Who?
Mailingless.
Okay,
One of them is MailChimp. It's
Mm,
a free program that you can send out an email blast to everybody.
okay.
And that might be something you might get started with in case they start tripping like that.
Okay.
Send the notifications out.
MailChimp. Indeed.
MailChimp.
MailChimp?
Yeah.
Okay. I praise the water for that information, man. Yanika C said, United, they want us to hurt. United, they want to hurt us. Separated from them, they want to kill us. Okay, Con. Indeed. Sister Mariah says, Shalom. Con, technically, we're still prisoners of war. Indeed. All right. Any other questions, comment, or concern relating to today's message, or even if it's something else? You got something?
No, sir.
Okay.
Well, I want to introduce everybody to the mayor. This is the mayor of West Memphis, my friend. I've been doing security for him for a long time, and I've been telling him he's an Israelite, and he decided to come on in and get some information.
All right, you're welcome.
I like to say, I was born and raised Seventh Adventist, so I always worship on the Sabbath. I don't eat pork, don't eat that scales and things. I've seen and heard a lot of this, but me and Jimmy always. But we always chalk it up, he's steady, he consistent with the Bible saying, man, read it. And I kept waiting, I started getting, I just want to see, hey, what's going on there? Because what I'm learning, because honestly, as long as I heard the Bible talk, I just sat down, the hour that we've been here, and it never been as clear. You just put it to me. We read the King James version, the version. Because of this but as you was reading and we were going through Esther, I can see it in my head like it was a movie. That was going on. So definitely I'm hungry. I got fed. I'm definitely gonna be back and try to. Not try, but I want to be saved by the Most High. I'm learning. I'm not where you all at, but hey, my brothers and sisters, I'm ready to come on and learn and get some more than meat and be served.
Praise the Lord.
I want to say this, bro. We ain't there yet. None of us. None of us yet. We all together trying to get there. We right there with you. You right there with us now. Just right there. So, you on the right path.
Come on.
They touch it, but mom.
Yeah, it touched me when you just said Can I share a scripture with you, brother? It happened to me the same way. Can I read something to you? Well, if you don't mind, turn to it.
Want me to read it? You got it.
Yeah, you can read it.
What is it?
Well, I read it.
Okay.
Revelation 22:1. This is the same thing that happened to you.
What's that, verse?
Revelation chapter 22, verse 1. Let me know if you're ready for me to read it.
Let's go.
It say, and he showed me a pure river of water of life. Who is the he?
Right.
And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as a crystal, proceeded out of the throne of the Most High and of the Lamb. So today was your divine day. And so on the Shabbat, that's when we really supposed to be representing the Most High, because we get downloads. And so today, with you under the Shabbat, he opened your ears to hear it. And you said it with your own mouth. It was clear to me. So I want to share it with you, that scripture.
Praise to the Most High. You got humble servant said they came out of Seventh-day Adventist too. Yep, and just one more thing from me to you, Marco, brother. The Most High, his spirit is infinite. You know what I'm saying? So he don't deal with time or none of it. You know what I'm saying? So just as sure as you come in today, it's stuff that I can learn from you. We all can learn, because whatever gift he put in you, that gift is older than you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He just linked it to you to operate with it in this time period. So even for me or whoever else. So man, we all, you know what I mean, members of one body. But man, I thank the Most High that you hearkened, you know, that you came, like the presence, definitely blessing, bro.
I got one more question.
I got that. I say one.
You know, I stopped doing Christmas a while ago. Thanksgiving, I never did 4th of July.
Oh.
What are the holy holidays that I can start reading upon and recognize?
Go to Leviticus 23. So what are the holy days?
23.
Yep, Leviticus 23. Leviticus 23. What are the holy days? And you can follow it. Oh, get in, you give me St. John 7:38. I would say. Yep. So just the importance of even wanting to know that, you know what I'm saying? What? Because we want to do something, if we calling ourselves Christians or followers of Christ, we say we believe in the Bible or God, in a sense, even in the world before the truth. When people say God, most of the time they weren't talking about, if you was a Christian or Baptist, you was talking about the God of the Bible. All right, so what does the God of the Bible, what days do he have for us to celebrate? So St. John 7:38, and you got that, Gideon?
Yeah.
And you got Leviticus 23?
Which one do you want to go first?
You?
All right. This is the book of St. John, chapter 7. I'm going to put some light on the subject. Verse 38. He that believeth on me, as the scripture has said.
As what?
As the scripture has said.
So the person that believe on the Most High, like the book say, not with tradition, not with just what feel good. Because there's certain things within ourselves that we'll say, man, it'll feel easier for me to do it like this, but what the book say? You got to stick with what the book say. I said, so it believeth on me as the scripture have said. Go ahead.
Out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water.
Out of his belly, out of that person's belly, shall flow rivers of living water. All right, now Leviticus 23. So we believe the book according to what the book say. We understand it. Leviticus 23:1. That's where we'll start it. For the feast days, the holy days, given by the Most High.
All right, this is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, beginning with verse 1. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Most High.
All right, so speak unto the children of Israel. Very specific. Speak to my people, my chosen people, where Hosea 4:6 tell you my people, dispossessed or destroyed for a lack of knowledge, or for not having it knowledge. He says, speak unto the children of Israel, say unto them concerning the feast of the Most High. Go ahead.
Which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations. Even these are my feasts.
Okay, so Leviticus 23 gonna tell you the feast that the Most High gave us. Go ahead.
Verse 3. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest.
All right, so this is the first holy day, the weekly Sabbath. See, 6 days work will be done, but this 7th day through the week, this is gonna be a holy convocation. Go ahead.
All right, you shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Most High in all your dwellings.
Right, which keeps us in time with the calculator, or even the clock of heaven. You know what I'm saying? The way the Most High deal with time. He looking at every 7 days. He looking at every what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And calculating the year according to that. Go ahead.
These are the feasts of the Most High, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons. And the 14th day of the first month at even is the Most High's Passover.
The 14th day of the first month at even is the Most High's Passover. So this is one of the first holy days, Passover. All right, which we get more detail about that with Exodus 12. But the first day of the month, or the 14th day of the first month, is not talking about January. It's not talking about January being the first month. The first month of the year is actually March. All right, and it was March.
The springtime, when things start to get new.
Boy, the spring.
The Most High, when he make a change, you gonna see it.
So one of the ways I explain it usually is, I ask you, Marco, how many sides does an octagon have?
8.
Okay, how many sides does a stop sign have, which is an octagon, but you got that one. How many sides how many legs or tentacles do an octopus have? 8. So within that case, when we look at the month October, you got the same prefix, OCT. What month is October? It's actually the 8th month. Now, if we were wrong, and we talking about where you, brother, you just philosophizing, but we dealing with words. December is considered the 12th month, but when you look at DEC, decimals break numbers down to the 10th power. How long is a decade? 15. Okay, how many sides a decagon got? 10. DEC relating to 10. So if October is the 8th month, November would be the 9th. October
the 8th.
October 8th, help me out.
November 9th, December
October
10th.
Okay, November the 10th. No, November the 9th. November the 9th. November the 9th and December the 10th. Come on, December will be the 10th. So just like that. And then from the 10th, January, it will be the 11th month. February was the last month, which is Adar from what we just read. That's why the Feast of Purim going to be celebrated next month. All right, after that, March roll in. We're going to be celebrating Passover. What we finna read about it. Go ahead with it. So you got Passover in March.
All right. Verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month is the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
All right, so the following day is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. But their feast lasts from Sabbath to Sabbath. It's an 8-day feast. Keep going.
Unto the Most High. 7 days ye must eat unleavened bread.
7 days you eat unleavened bread. So we got 2 of the holidays, Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, but they run together. I jump to verse 15. So just giving you a list of the holidays that the Father gave us.
All right, verse 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that ye brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete.
All right, so after the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, we count 7 Sabbaths unto this particular holiday. Was this what the Christian church, taught us Pentecost? But it's really the Feast of First Fruits. Penti going back to 50. Penti meaning 50. Pentagon, what you got?
I'm lost.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Just know the first month is March.
first month, March.
Okay, I got it.
Yep. This is a good start right there.
Can I say something too?
You got it?
He'll have to break it down to you, the Hebrew calendar, to
Uh-huh.
understand this. So that's why is that probably why you can figure it out?
Yeah.
Because this the most high calendar.
Come on.
As you know, in our captivity, we go by the Gregorian calendar. So he will have to show you the Hebrew calendar so you can have comparison to the modern day calendar.
Mm.
So that's why it's confusing.
Come.
Did you follow what he meant by the 7 Sabbaths? It's the 7 weeks.
I mean, I hear it, but I ain't gonna lie.
Come.
It's just gonna take you, right as you start to keep these holy days, you'll see. All you have to do is start keeping.
Come.
After a year, you're gonna know all the holy days.
Come.
Starting this year, March.
And you coming in right on time.
But I tell you,
That's it, right.
however the Father, leads you to dissect this one feast day at a time through your extensive research, this is where they're listed
Mm-hmm. Come.
in Leviticus 23.
Mm-hmm.
Seven holy day feasts.
Come. Yeah, that's the template. Leviticus 23 got all on this right there.
Yep.
And like I said, as we go through it, we can take that thing day by day.
Mhm.
But just for, I guess, for you to be familiar with it by ear at least, we got Passover, unleavened bread. We got Feast of First Fruits. We got Feast of Tabernacles. We got the Day of Atonement. We got the Memorial Blowing of Trumpets. And what's the other one?
Atonement. Okay.
We
He
should
said atonement.
Lights. Feast of Lights of Dedication. But for what's listed in Leviticus 23,
Okay.
you got,
say first?
I said,
Mhm.
come. So
1, 2, 3.
Passover / unleavened bread, Feast of First Fruits, and then you got Feast, the Memorial Blowing of Trumpets. That'll be in September. Memorial Blowing of Trumpets. Then you got the Day of Atonement. All right.
Tabernacle, then Pentecost.
Yep. Then after the Day of Atonement, we got Feast of Tabernacles. Yep. Come. Like I said, you get my information anytime you need me to call or talk about it. And the door is always open to you, bro. Come. Anybody else got questions or comments or concerns over the broadcast and over YouTube? Let me see. Somebody said something about helping out too.
Or helping a brother.
Dylan Riley, information on to donate for that day, if it be the most I will, to give away full of such things that people need. Dylan Riley, get with me. I'm gonna post it with the email address. Children of the Prophets 144 at gmail.com. So just shoot me your contact through there. I can give you a call. We can talk about it. But I do thank everybody who have been, donating, giving monetary wise as well as item wise for the mission drive for February 25th. I think we're gonna stop accepting, anything February the 20th. Just so we can have enough time to get everything together and go out in decency and order. But I do thank y'all. I don't see nothing else. Okay, Sister, I send you the cash out request. I will send it to you. I post the cash out for anybody else who it ain't no pressure on it. I'm not this if I could do it without any asking at all, I would. But if y'all move to help us out, here's the cash out right here, Children of Prophets. We just trying to do the work. Children of Prophets 12. That's the cash out. All right, and with that, we say Shabbat Shalom. Prayer was edifying, uplifting, and strengthening.
Shalom.
Hey, and you already know. Let Satan know we won up with this one.
It was
Come on.